Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. First things first, we have to thank you guys. We've reached 500 subscribers. We couldn't do it without you, and we hope that you enjoy our daily soccer content. But now to business. Cristiano Ronaldo, 2 games with Juventus, has yet to score a goal. Why isn't Ronaldo scoring? Is he playing well? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down Ronaldo's performances against Chievo and Lazio. 2 games, 2 wins. Juventus are the main talking point in Serie A. Who can dethrone them? But more importantly, this season, Cristiano Ronaldo has joined them. And the big talking point is, how many goals would he score? But 2 games into the season, after Juve have played Chievo and have played Lazio, Ronaldo hasn't scored goals. So in today's video, we're going to break down what role he played against Chievo in the first half, how he changed things up in the second half, and then move to Lazio and break down how he did and why things weren't working for Juventus. When we do break it down, we start with Chievo, and we have to look at Juventus and how they lined up. Juventus in more of a 4-2-3-1. They had Ronaldo up front. Out in wider areas, they went with Douglas Costa. They went with Cuadrado. Just in behind, they went with Dybala. In midfield, Pjanic, Khedira. Outer in the wider areas, the back 4 hasn't changed. It's been Cancelo, it's been Alexandro, and at the back, you look at Chiellini and Bonucci. You think about the lineup, everything makes sense. Ronaldo up front, supreme goal scorer. Out in wide areas, Cuadrado and Douglas Costa delivering crosses into the box. Dybala as the maestro just in behind him. You have the creativity of Pjanic, the drive of Khedira, and then going forward, you look at the fullbacks, attack-minded fullbacks like to overlap, like to deliver dangerous crosses into the box. Why didn't it work against Chievo? Why were Juve down early into the second half? Why do they have to fight to come back? When we look at the structure of the first half, we have to look at Juventus. Ronaldo's up front, not really getting service into the box. Chievo dropping into more of a 4-5-1, staying very narrow, and Juve made it very easy for them. Why? When you look at how the system was, Cuadrado and Douglas Costa were extremely narrow. You don't want them there. You want them to be delivering crosses into Ronaldo. You think about Real Madrid and why they were so good and why Ronaldo was able to score so many goals. Vasquez, Asensio delivering crosses, Bale delivering crosses, the control of the midfield, the guile and creativity of Modric and Kroos when they got higher up the pitch, and then when going forward, Marcelo and Carvajal able to deliver crosses as well. Here at Juventus, Allegri is the ultimate pragmatist. He's going to try and find ways to get Ronaldo into those goal-scoring positions. This didn't work out, but why they had them so narrow is because they wanted to push the fullbacks forward. They wanted Sandro and Cancelo to get on the ball, to deliver crosses into the box, but the way Chievo was set up was very simple, and what they did, they had the wider players push out, so they would keep narrow there, and then if the ball went to Sandro, they would shift over as well. So crosses weren't being delivered into the box. Dybala was unable to get on the ball, often occupying this space right here on the right, rarely going to the left, picking up the ball, combining with Cancelo, but no real overloads down that flank, not really getting passes in behind the defense into those pockets of spaces, not linking with Ronaldo, and when he was able to do that, his passes were often misplaced. So that was a big problem for Juve. So they're not getting anything from Cuadrado or Douglas Costa. And what's weird about it is that even they would drop off into these spaces, they wouldn't move out into wider areas to search for those overloads. And it was a big problem that Juventus had. You have to say that something had to be done there, but nothing was. Ronaldo in particular doing his best, dropping off in midfield, linking play with the wider players, getting his teammates forward, pushing forward, ensuring that Cuadrado could pick up the ball, linking play there, superb with his back to goal, and Ronaldo did a good job in that aspect. When you look at the best chances that Juve created, one stemmed when Pjanic was a bit higher, and it's Bonucci clipping a long ball, and Dybala finally makes a run across, and he drags 2 markers with him. He's able to hold it up. He looks for Ronaldo, who's breaking in right at the edge of the box. The pass is just behind him. Cuadrado is obviously breaking in. Cuadrado gets it. He's 1v1 with the marker, beats him, and then pulls it back for Ronaldo. Ronaldo slides his shot wide, but that's Ronaldo getting into the right spaces at the right time, looking for runners to create space for him. It was something that Karim Benzema did very well, often drifting into those channels to drag markers out of position so that he could find the holes in the box. That wasn't happening enough here, but that was one element where Dybala did that very well. We look at another opportunity, and it basically stems from Juve trying to play out of the back and their persistence. So when they do play out of the back, Juventus, you have Chiellini and you have Bonucci spreading out wide. What happened here was that you had Stupinski looking to press onto Chiellini. You had Giaccherini pulling off and ensuring that there were no passes into Bonucci. And what happened here was that Pjanic and Khedira dropped into those spaces, but who follows them? Radanovic, and you have Rigoni pushing forward. So what happens there is that obviously the fullbacks are trying to get higher up the pitch, but that doesn't really change anything because they're marked out as well. Chiellini pushes out wide. What happens here is that Chiellini plays a ball into that center space right at the center circle. Who drops off? It's Ronaldo dropping off. Ronaldo drops off to get onto the ball. What happens is that his marker doesn't get close to him. He flicks the ball into the path of Dybala. Dybala is able to drive forward. He slides it wide to Cuadrado. Cuadrado fires his shot over the net. But that's another piece of Ronaldo just doing a good job with his back to goal. It's a skill that he's evolved over the years. We saw for Portugal against Spain in particular most recently, and that was how Ronaldo was really affecting the game with his back to goal, trying to push players forward, linking with his teammates because service wasn't going into him, and that is why Allegri was forced to make changes in the second half. So the second half starts and Allegri doesn't make an initial change, but what does happen is we see Ronaldo shift more to the left-hand side. Whether it was by design or not, he did. He dropped off, picked up the ball in deeper positions, asked players to switch the ball out to that side. There was one time initially Dybala switches over the diagonal. He cuts in. No one is coming close to him. Radovanovic does step up, but by then the shot is already fired on goal and just pushed away, but it was a warning sign. Ronaldo wanted the ball in those areas because he wasn't getting any supply from his teammates. That forced Allegri into changes. Giaccherini came on. Mandzukic came on. What happened is that they took off the wider players in Cuadrado and Douglas Costa. Now you have Mandzukic in the box. You have Alexandro bombing forward, Ronaldo in from the left, Giaccherini holding the touchline and sometimes cutting in as well. Why was this such a big change? Well, for one, now if Ronaldo does want to get into the box, he isn't fully occupied. Someone has to pick up Mandzukic. It frees up space for Ronaldo to get onto crosses. The second thing now for Juventus was the fact that now they had an overload down the left-hand side. They had some sort of combination. It wasn't just the fullbacks going 1v1 or 1v2 in those wider areas. So that was key for them. We saw Ronaldo and Alexandro combine on a few occasions. It just freed up space for Ronaldo to get forward. There's times Alexandro just make the run, and he would cut in on De Pauli and Tomovic to cut in and fire shots on goal that did hit the target, and it forced the keeper into some saves. There was one time where Ronaldo and Sandro combined, and Sandro's delivered cross into the 6-yard box was dangerous and almost led to a Bernardeschi shot that would have possibly went in. And then the other aspect of it was the fact that Ronaldo now breaking forward, you have Sandro overlapping, Khedira with space to kind of drive into, and Mandzukic looking for those darting runs as well. He caused Chievo tons of problems. He wasn't involved in the final 2 goals, but he helped Juventus push forward, and that was his strong suit, cutting in off the left. When he does that, it's 1v1 opposed to Ronaldo sitting in this box, followed by 2 to 3 players, and that was the big issue in the first half. He was isolated up front, no real service. In the second half, he moved to the left, combined with Sandro, was able to beat De Pauli and Tomovic in 1v1 situations, and Juve were able to sneak points off of Chievo. But when it comes to Lazio, that offered a different threat. But Lazio provided a different test for Juventus. For one, they started in a three-man backline. They played in a 3-5-1-1, and Juventus also made changes. We look at Juventus 4-3-3 this time, bringing in Blaise Matuidi into midfield with Pjanic and Khedira to offer some support and to combat with the midfield of Milinkovic-Savic, Lucas, Leyva, and Parolo. And then up front, Bernardeschi earned a start, and they had Ronaldo and Mandzukic starting from the get-go. When you think about it, again, the fact that, one, Juve were misplacing passes. Matuidi was pretty awful in the first half in terms of playing the ball. Alex Sandro was making mistakes. Cancelo was still a liability out at right back. He was culpable for both of the goals against Chievo, and again here from a defensive aspect, wasn't doing a very good job. You think about Juventus, they were kind of marked out of the game because of the way Lazio had shaped up. They dropped off. They ensured that they had Immobile and they had Luis Alberto in between Pjanic so he couldn't get on the ball. They had the shuttlers pushing out in Parolo and Savic onto Khedira and Matuidi. And Lucas, he was sweeping up any danger here. And if Sandro and Cancelo wanted to push forward, they have Lulic and Marusic pushing forward to ensure that they couldn't really get anything into them. Like I said, once again, the key creator was Bonucci kind of pushing forward. Juventus struggled to create chances. You think about their best chance, it's a Bonucci long ball. Matuidi luckily able to break forward. The ball falls down to Ronaldo, who should get his shot off. He doesn't. Khedira breaks in as well, and he fires an effort off the post. But besides that, they were struggling to get behind this Lazio backline, whereas you look at Lazio and how they were approaching the game. With Matuidi and Khedira looking to push forward, there was so much space in behind Pjanic in this left channel for Alberto to pick up the ball, Savic to pick up the ball. They were able to push forward as well. The problem with them was the final pass. Immobile lacked service. He wasn't given the ball in good areas, and whenever they looked to break, they often made the wrong decision. How does Ronaldo affect this? Ronaldo involved in the goal, but again, how does he do it? It's just dropping into that space. He alternated with Mandzukic at times, swapping positions, trying to find that rhythm. And again, for the goal, there's just acres of space in midfield. He drops in there, picks up the ball, no one on him. He's able to push forward. Bernardeschi's out wide. He slides it out to him. The cross eventually leads to Pjanic volleying a super effort past the keeper. But when you look at it as a whole, Ronaldo was struggling to really get in the game. No crosses into the box once again. Nothing between the lines. No one looking to break in behind to get that long ball over. We saw Bonucci do it once there. We saw Cuadrado do it in the game against Chievo when he volleyed his effort wide, but nothing here for Ronaldo. Again, his other best opportunity was just dropping off a bit deeper. Savic stepped to him. He's able to gain a yard, but then fire his effort at the keeper. And that was about it for Ronaldo in the first half. And in the second half, as it started, the first 15 to 20 minutes, his best chance again, just driving, making an intelligent run into that left channel in between Acerbi and Wallace. Acerbi follows him. He goes 1v1 with Ronaldo. Ronaldo cuts out wide. Mandzukic breaks into the box, but he nods the effort wide. Ronaldo was starved for service, and Juve didn't really find an opening until Lazio made the change, and we're going to get to that right now, because before that, Juve were dropping into two banks of four, more of a 4-5-1 without the ball. They really didn't have any worries in terms of how to really go forward because they knew Lazio had to push forward. Ronaldo was sitting up front, and like I said, until Lazio went more adventurous, Juve didn't really have any opportunities. So Lazio took a risk by moving to a 3-4-1-2. Basically, they took off Parolo, they took off Luis Alberto, they brought on Baldes, they brought on Correa. So what happens now is that they lose a man in midfield. That does open up space for Juve to get balls into their strikers. How does this affect Juve? Well, they did bring on Chad, they brought on Douglas Costa, and both players were involved in the goals, because what happens now is that there's space in the midfield, and Juve weren't able to supply the front three. Now they were. How does it start? Khedira drops into that space. Chan picks up the ball. You have Savic and the front two higher up the pitch. Chan sends him the ball there. He's able to Khedira the ball. He's able to push it out to Douglas Costa. Costa now is able to cut past two players, send it out to Ronaldo, and as the Lazio defense splits, it's able for Ronaldo to get the ball against Marusic, and you expect Ronaldo to beat him. He does. cuts in, fires a shot on goal that is pushed over the crossbar. That's one opportunity. Now, when you look at it again, their three-man backline, well, that turns into a 5, does get pulled out. And how does that happen? Well, again, it stems with Chan being able to play the ball out to Cancelo. You have Lulic step to him. And like I said, the risk of having those attacking players against the back three against Lazio was a big risk for Lazio. And what happens here is that you see Douglas Costa move out wide to drag Radu out. Then he pulls a bit more narrow to pull him out again. And then he comes wide. And when he comes wide, what happens is that Cancelo's able to play him the ball. And then Lulic and Radu are stuck in that position. Cancelo's able to make the underlapping run. And then Costa pokes it out to him. What happens here is now Lazio's defense has to split. Acerbi comes across. And then you have Khedira breaking in. You have Wallace now pushing forward. And Ronaldo's able to pull off Wallace because Wallace steps in for Khedira. The cross comes in. The keeper pokes it away from Ronaldo to get his proper shot off. But what happens is that Mandzukic was already ahead of Maricic, who was very high. And he's able to flash his shot past the keeper. 2-0 for Juventus. They bring on Bentancur. But again, from Ronaldo, what do we see him do in more the latter stages? Drift into the channels. He drifts to the right, beats Acerbi later on in the game, cross through the box. No one attacks it. He moves to the left this time, combines with Matuidi. What happens there is that Wallace and Maricic do follow him. He's able to beat both, cut through, and deliver a cross into the box. Acerbi makes a great intervention to stop Bentancur. But when you look at it as a whole, Ronaldo played much better in the wider areas. Juve are not Real Madrid. They don't have the supply lines to get the ball to Ronaldo like he wanted to. Perhaps it takes time, but at the moment it wasn't working. He was much better when he moved out into wider positions, isolated defenders, whether it be one or two. He was able to beat them both. Like we see in Serie A, the defenders have difficulties defending in 1v1 situations against fast, pacey, strong attackers, and that was the issue here for Chievo, for Lazio. Ronaldo was much better in the wider areas, and now we have to see if he can add goals to his game. But let me know what you guys think. What system is best for Ronaldo? What attackers are better for him to get him the service? And how many goals do you think he will score this season? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the InnerViews.